FIA steward Johnny Herbert has openly stated that Lando Norris needs to get scrappy with Max Verstappen to have any chance of winning the F1 2025 battle. Meanwhile, Ferrari is reportedly in a panic after analyzing Lewis Hamilton's concerning race data, raising alarms over their 2025 preparations. Aston Martin team principal Mike Krack believes Lance Stroll is treated unfairly, given the criticism leveled at him. Let's discuss, and stay tuned until the end. FIA steward Johnny Herbert calls for Lando Norris to challenge Max Verstappen aggressively in the 2025 F1 season. Yes, the 2024 Formula One season delivered a gripping narrative, with Max Verstappen and Lando Norris at the heart of an enthralling title battle. However, one key critique lingered in the paddock: Norris's reluctance to go head-to-head with Verstappen in the most aggressive fashion. Now, as the sport gears up for the 2025 season, FIA steward and former F1 driver Johnny Herbert has urged Norris to adopt a more combative approach if he hopes to dethrone the Dutch champion. Lando Norris, the British star and McLaren's ace, emerged as Verstappen's primary challenger throughout 2024. Despite their on-track skirmishes, the duo's mutual respect often prevented their rivalry from boiling over into outright animosity. Their friendship, well documented off the track, seemed to influence their dynamics on it. The closest the battle came to outright fireworks was during the Austrian Grand Prix at the Red Bull Ring. A minor collision at Turn 3 resulted in catastrophic punctures for both drivers, with Norris forced to retire and Verstappen limping to a fifth-place finish. A frustrated Norris called for an apology from Verstappen, which never came. Verstappen, however, emphasized that maintaining their friendship was a priority. As the season progressed, further incidents occurred, but the real tension often stemmed from team reactions rather than direct animosity between the drivers. Norris, trailing Verstappen by a significant margin in the Drivers' Championship, rarely displayed the aggression needed to unsettle the reigning champion. Johnny Herbert believes the time for diplomacy is over. Speaking to Coin Poker, the veteran steward said Norris must adopt a harder stance if he hopes to compete with Verstappen in 2025. Norris needs to stand up to Verstappen more often. He's been very open about not bringing his A game this year. From what I've heard, he knows he needs to change his approach. This is a pivotal moment, not just for Norris but for F1 as a whole. Drivers are realizing they can't afford to back down against someone like Max. Next year could be scrappier, but that's what makes Formula One exciting: sharp elbows and smart racing. Max applies pressure like no one else, and Norris has to show he can handle it. The upcoming season promises a more level playing field between McLaren and Red Bull, with Norris poised to mount a stronger challenge. Unlike 2024, where Verstappen often forced Norris into compromising positions, the British driver is expected to have the tools to fight back. Herbert's comments also come amid scrutiny over his dual role as an FIA steward and media pundit. Verstappen's camp accused him of bias after the Mexico City Grand Prix, where Verstappen received penalties for incidents involving Norris. Jos Verstappen, Max's father, publicly criticized the FIA for potential conflicts of interest. Despite the controversy, Herbert remains unfazed. Within the paddock, you just move on. Yes, there are disagreements and frustrations, but respect prevails. Being a steward is tough, but it hasn't impacted my relationships with drivers or their teams. Meanwhile, Ferrari speaks out on concerning data from Lewis Hamilton's final season at Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton's transition from Mercedes to Ferrari has already sparked widespread debate, but fresh data from his 2024 season at Mercedes has caused ripples in the paddock. Ferrari, where Hamilton will team up with Charles Leclerc for 2025, has now weighed in on the seven-time world champion's struggles during his final year with the Brackley-based squad. Hamilton, who announced his departure from Mercedes after 12 successful years, endured a difficult 2024 campaign. While his race performances remained commendable, his qualifying struggles were glaring, with teammate George Russell out-qualifying him in 19 out of 24 races. These difficulties led Hamilton to admit, during the Qatar GP, that he felt his pace was slipping away. "I'm just slow, same every weekend. The car felt relatively decent, no issues, and not really much more to say." These comments raised questions about whether Hamilton, widely regarded as one of the greatest F1 drivers of all time, was beginning to lose his edge. Traditionally, a driver's decline is first noticed in qualifying performances, and Hamilton's struggles with one-lap pace have been a talking point throughout the 2024 season. Ferrari team principal Frederick Vasseur, however, has dismissed concerns over Hamilton's perceived decline. Speaking at a Ferrari Christmas event, Vasseur emphasized that race day performances matter far more than qualifying results. "First of all, we are well placed to know that it's on Sunday that you are scoring points. We fell a little bit in 2023 as we were probably the best in qualifying, but we struggled in the race. This year, we've made a decent step forward in race management and tire handling. Charles Leclerc has improved significantly and will carry this momentum into 2025. So no, I'm not worried about Hamilton's qualifying form. He's still a race day master. Vassar pointed to Hamilton's stellar performance at the Las Vegas GP, where he recovered from a disappointing 10th place start in qualifying to finish second, just behind Russell. Look at his 50 laps in Vegas. Starting P10 and finishing right on Russell's gearbox? I'm not worried at all. Not everyone shares Vassar's optimism. Former Jordan F1 team boss Eddie Jordan expressed grave concerns over Hamilton's mental state, suggesting his self-doubt could hinder his success at Ferrari. Belief is everything. If you don't believe 100%, you're fucked. If Hamilton is saying, "I'm not fast enough anymore," then that tiny doubt will grow, and it could ruin him. Honestly, if I were Ferrari, I'd reconsider. Self-doubt is the beginning of the end for a driver. Meanwhile, Aston Martin boss defends Lance Stroll against unfair criticism. Yes, Aston Martin team principal Mike Krack has spoken out in defense of Lance Stroll, following relentless criticism of the Canadian driver during the 2024 Formula One season. Despite a significant performance gap between Stroll and his two-time world champion teammate Fernando Alonso, Krack argues that the public perception of Stroll is skewed and fails to recognize his contributions to the team. The statistics paint a stark picture of the performance difference between the Aston Martin drivers. Over their 2 seasons as teammates, Alonso has amassed 296 points compared to Stroll's 98. In qualifying head-to-heads, Alonso also holds a commanding advantage. However, Krack downplayed these figures, pointing out that Alonso's status as one of Formula One's all-time greats naturally skews expectations. First of all, if you look at the gap that he has to his teammate, who is one of the best of all time, it's very small. We have someone who is very serious about car development, simulator driving, being fit, and being constructive in the meetings. Krack suggested that much of the criticism directed at Stroll stems from misconceptions fueled by media coverage. According to him, Stroll is judged unfairly based on his demeanor and media duties rather than his on-track performance or commitment to the team. He is judged mainly on the delivery of media duties. He's a racing driver, and for me, a racing driver has to drive in the first place. It's very unfair when you read some of the comments. They're often written without much research because it suits the public opinion. There is a really skewed picture. Stroll's commitment to the sport has also been questioned, particularly during Aston Martin's challenging 2024 campaign. The team struggled to replicate their podium successes from 2023, which led some to speculate about Stroll's passion for racing. Krack, however, dismissed these doubts, citing Stroll's eagerness to improve and his proactive approach during the season. He revealed that Stroll requested additional testing during a recent break to sharpen his skills, a gesture that Krack believes reflects his dedication. When we had the 3-week break recently, I had Lance on the phone asking if we could organize some driving somehow in an old car because he wants to drive. It's a sport with no testing, and we have someone who loves driving.